Have you ever noticed how a room feels heavier when someone leaves, their absence more profound than any words they could have spoken? That quiet void they leave behind is not just a gap, it's a mirror. And in that mirror, truths too loud to ignore begin to echo. The loudest sound in the world is the silence left by someone who mattered, someone once said, and it holds a wisdom that is as haunting as it is liberating. In the philosophy of dark Stoicism, walking away is not an act of weakness, but a declaration of self-worth, spoken not with words, but with the resounding power of absence. Picture a flame burning bright, fighting desperately to illuminate a room that refuses to notice its light. No matter how fiercely it burns, no one feels its warmth. No one sees its brilliance. That flame is you, or at least it has been. You've given your energy, your time, and your love to people who sit in the cold, indifferent to your fire. But here's the truth no one tells you. You don't extinguish your flame to warm those who bask in your glow without gratitude. You let it guide you elsewhere, leaving them to their own darkness. Walking away quietly is a rare Stoic strength, a kind of rebellion that doesn't need a battle cry. It's not about slamming doors or shouting final words. It's about stepping back into yourself and letting your absence become the loudest thing in the room. This is dark Stoicism in action, finding power in restraint, clarity in chaos, and growth in silence. Have you ever tried to fill a cup with a crack at its base? No matter how much water you pour, it drains away, leaving you exhausted and empty. Staying in toxic spaces with toxic people is no different. You pour out your kindness, your loyalty, your love, only to watch it seep through the cracks of indifference and selfishness. Yet we cling. Why? Because we've been conditioned to believe that persistence is noble, that love requires sacrifice, and that leaving is failure. But what if leaving isn't a failure? What if it's survival? In the words of Marcus Aurelius, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Walking away is realizing that the cracks in the cup were never yours to fix. It's knowing that the person on the other side of your efforts didn't just fail to hold you. They chose to let you slip away. Silence is often misunderstood as passivity, but in truth, it is a weapon sharper than any word. When you walk away quietly, you deny the other person the drama they expect, the explanations they think they deserve, and the power to define your departure. Your silence is not an absence. It is a presence so profound that it forces them to confront their own emptiness. Imagine a tree that stops bearing fruit in a garden where it is neglected. The gardener might not notice at first, too busy tending to more vibrant blooms. But as the seasons pass, the absence of shade, the silence of rustling leaves, the void of its offerings, begin to speak louder than any words could. That tree didn't leave the garden. It simply stopped giving to it. You are that tree, and your silence is the first step in reclaiming the soil of your own worth. In Stoic philosophy, detachment is often celebrated as the path to freedom. But dark Stoicism takes it a step further, finding power not just in letting go, but in leaving deliberately, in silence, and with the unshakable conviction that your worth is not up for debate. Walking away quietly is not about abandoning others. It's about refusing to abandon yourself. Think of a warrior laying down their sword after a battle fought too long. They don't shout in victory or lament in defeat. They simply walk off the field, their silence carrying the weight of all they've endured. This is the essence of dark Stoicism, leaving with dignity, carrying no burden except your own renewed strength. When you leave, The universe reshuffles itself to fill the space you vacated. A truth both unsettling and empowering. Your absence becomes a ripple, forcing those left behind to face what they failed to see when you were present. This is not revenge. It is reflection. When someone loses the warmth of your presence, they are left with the cold of their own actions or inactions. Metaphorically, it's like pulling a thread from a tapestry. The fabric doesn't fall apart immediately, but over time, the gaps become impossible to ignore. Your silence does the same, unraveling the illusions they've wrapped themselves in. It's a quiet kind of justice, one that doesn't seek to punish but simply lets the truth stand bare. The act of walking away isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new one. When you remove yourself from spaces that diminish you, you reclaim the energy you've been pouring into others and redirect it toward yourself. Think of a wildfire that scorches the earth, leaving it barren and lifeless, only for seeds long buried to sprout in its wake, stronger and more vibrant than before. In your silence, you rediscover your own voice. In your absence, you find presence within yourself. And in walking away, you don't just leave behind what no longer serves you. You step toward the life you truly deserve. To walk away quietly is to let go of the need for validation, the compulsion to explain, and the burden of fixing what was never yours to repair. It is to embrace the wisdom of Stoicism and wield the silent power of absence. Silence is not the absence of words, but the presence of strength, and in that strength lies your freedom. So, take that step. Walk away not in anger, but in resolve. Let your silence speak volumes. Let your absence echo louder than your presence ever could. And remember, the loudest sound you'll ever make is the one you don't. Affirmations are a spark that ignites your inner strength, reminding you of your worth and guiding you to rise above. Here is your affirmation. My silence is my strength. Write this in the comments as a promise to yourself, a declaration of your resilience and self-worth. Let it be the foundation of your journey toward peace and strength. If this message resonated with you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. We pour our hearts into creating content that empowers and uplifts you. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue bringing these truths to light. Number 1. Silence is a weapon, not a weakness. Have you ever watched the sea pull away from the shore, leaving behind a barren beach? It's not retreat. It's the tide gathering its strength, preparing to surge back with undeniable force. That's the power of silence. It's not a sign of weakness, but a profound act of reclaiming your energy. Silence is the language of the strong, spoken only by those who no longer need validation to prove their worth. When you walk away quietly, you wield a weapon far mightier than words, a weapon that strikes not with noise, but with the piercing clarity of absence. In a world that glorifies confrontation, silence is often misunderstood. People think loud voices win battles, but real power lies in the calm resolve of walking away without a sound. Silence carries an undeniable weight. It forces reflection, demands attention, and commands respect. It's the thunder before the lightning, the stillness before the storm, a force so potent that it leaves others questioning everything they took for granted. Your silence is not an absence. It's a statement that their actions no longer merit your response. Imagine a candle burning in a dark room, its flame steadfast despite being ignored. The people in the room pay no attention until the moment it flickers out, leaving them in sudden, jarring darkness. That's what silence does. It extinguishes the light they took for granted and leaves them to face their own shadows. When you walk away quietly, you don't just leave a space. You create a void so profound that it forces them to confront the truth they've been avoiding. Sometimes, the loudest statement you can make is to say nothing at all. Silence is the ultimate disruptor. It denies the other person the drama they expect, the justification they demand, and the opportunity to twist your words. In a moment of silence, you take back the power they tried to hold over you. It is the ultimate act of control, a reminder that your energy is no longer theirs to drain, and your voice is no longer theirs to exploit. Think of a great oak tree in a storm. It doesn't flail or panic. It stands firm, letting the winds rage around it. Your silence is that oak tree. It doesn't crumble under the weight of emotions or give in to the pressure of confrontation. Instead, it stands tall, unyielding, and unshakable. It reminds those around you that strength isn't in how loudly you shout, but in how firmly you hold your ground. When you choose silence, you aren't running away. You're rising above. You're stepping out of the chaos, out of the noise, and into your own peace. You're refusing to give anyone the satisfaction of watching you stumble, struggle, or explain yourself. You're choosing to let your actions, your absence, speak louder than anything you could say. Silence isn't the absence of power, it's the ultimate expression of it. As you step into the quiet, you'll notice something magical. The weight that once felt unbearable starts to lift. The energy you wasted on arguments and justifications begins to flow back into you. The more you embrace the silence, the more you realize it's not a void, but a sanctuary, a place where you can finally hear your own voice again. That's the gift of silence. It doesn't just protect you, it heals you. Walking away quietly is not about letting them win. It's about choosing yourself. It's about saying, without uttering a word, that you refuse to be diminished, ignored, or devalued. Your silence is a declaration that you are no longer available to play their games. It's a reminder that your worth was never tied to their acknowledgement, and that your strength doesn't depend on their understanding. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, manipulate you, or pull you back into their chaos, remember this: your silence is your power. Walk away with grace, leave quietly, and let the echo of your absence resonate louder than any words ever could. You are not their echo. You are your own voice, and that voice doesn't need to shout to be heard. Say it with me. Silence is my strength. I walk away with power. Write this affirmation in the comments to make it your own, and let it serve as a reminder of your inner fortitude. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue creating life-changing lessons like this one. Together, let's rise, reclaim our power, and live in the peace we deserve. Number 2. Your worth is not defined by their recognition. Have you ever looked at your reflection in a still lake, only to watch it ripple and distort the moment someone tosses a stone into the water? That's what happens when you allow others to define your worth. The clarity of who you are is disrupted, your sense of self twisted by their actions or indifference. But here's the truth they don't tell you. Your worth isn't found in their approval, their love, or their recognition. Your worth has always been yours, steady and unshaken, waiting for you to reclaim it. You do not need their applause to be worthy. You were already the standing ovation. These words ring true for anyone who has ever felt invisible in the presence of someone they cared for. In the philosophy of dark Stoicism, this realization is a cornerstone of strength. Walking away quietly is not just about leaving the space you occupy in their life. It's about stepping into the truth of your own. It's a declaration that you will no longer allow anyone to measure your value through the lens of their neglect or indifference. Imagine a diamond buried in the dirt. Its brilliance isn't diminished because it's hidden or unpolished. It remains valuable regardless of whether anyone notices it. You are that diamond. Their inability to see your worth doesn't devalue you. It reveals their blindness. A person who truly recognizes your brilliance doesn't need you to beg for their attention or plead for their acknowledgement. They see it inherently without being asked. And if they can't, the fault lies not in you, but in their failure to see what's precious. Too often, we tie ourselves to the opinions and actions of others. We wait for them to validate us, to recognize what we bring, as though their gaze could somehow complete us. But here's a hard truth. The people who dismiss your value don't deserve the privilege of witnessing your growth. The tree does not stop growing because someone failed to sit under its shade. You must stop seeking your worth in their fleeting attention and realize that your presence alone, whether noticed or not, is powerful. Walking away quietly is an act of liberation, a step toward reclaiming your worth. You don't need to announce your departure or explain yourself. Your absence will do that for you. Picture a lighthouse standing tall against the storm. Its light doesn't diminish because someone chooses not to follow it. It remains steadfast, guiding others who are willing to see its glow. That is your strength, your worth. Whether they choose to see it or not, it shines regardless. When you base your worth on their recognition, you give them power over you, a power they don't deserve. You hand them the keys to your happiness and watch as they fumble to appreciate it. But when you walk away, you take those keys back. You remind yourself that you are whole, complete, and enough, with or without their approval. The sun does not stop shining because someone closes their eyes. Let this truth settle in your heart. You are not the sum of someone else's appreciation. You are not diminished by their inability to see you. Walking away is not an act of abandonment. It is a return to yourself. You step into the fullness of your worth, no longer waiting for someone else to grant you what has been yours all along. Your silence becomes a powerful anthem, louder than any words you could ever speak. So, when you walk away, walk with your head held high. Leave quietly, with grace and strength, letting your absence echo what their recognition could not. Let them realize too late the brilliance they ignored. And as they grapple with the emptiness you leave behind, remember that you owe them nothing, not an explanation, not a second chance, not even a glance back. You are more than their acknowledgement, more than their fleeting attention. You are a force, unwavering and resilient, untouchable in your strength. Say this to yourself: my worth is mine. Their blindness does not define me. Write it in the comments as your affirmation and a promise to yourself. If this lesson resonated with you, like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here to guide you through life's storms with wisdom, strength, and the power of dark stoicism. Your worth has always been yours. Now it's time to claim it. Number 3. Absence reveals truths. Presence. Cannot have you ever noticed how some people only appreciate a star after it has fallen? As long as it's there, shining steadily, they take it for granted, unaware of the light it brings to their nights. It's not until that light disappears, leaving them in an unfamiliar darkness, that they finally realize what they've lost. Absence has a way of revealing truths that presence cannot. It forces clarity, demands introspection, and uncovers the weight of what was once overlooked. This is the silent power of walking away quietly, a core principle of dark Stoicism. "You never know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory," said Dr. Seuss, and while simple, it holds a profound truth. When you choose to leave quietly, you remove the distractions of words and explanations, leaving only the stark reality of your absence. It's not an act of cruelty, it's a gift of truth. You don't scream, you don't argue, you simply leave. And in that void, the people you walked away from are left to confront their actions, their choices, and the consequences of their neglect. Imagine a symphony where one instrument stops playing mid-performance. At first, the audience might not notice, caught up in the overwhelming sound of the orchestra. But as the music continues, something feels off. The absence of that one instrument creates a dissonance that no one can ignore. That's what your absence does. It disrupts the harmony they took for granted, forcing them to pay attention to what they failed to appreciate when it was there. Walking away isn't just about leaving a situation. It's about removing your energy from people who undervalue it. The light you once brought to their lives doesn't go out. It simply moves elsewhere, leaving them to grapple with the darkness they allowed to settle in. Sometimes, people don't realize the sun is their warmth until the winter arrives, a saying goes. You were their warmth, their light, their steady presence. And now, in your absence, they must face the cold. Absence works as a mirror. It reflects their choices back to them with brutal honesty. When you were there, they might have ignored your needs, dismissed your kindness, or treated you as though you were replaceable. But once you leave, they are left with nothing but their own regrets and the emptiness of what they took for granted. It's a reckoning they cannot escape, a silence louder than any argument you could ever make. Think of a garden where a gardener neglects a particular flower. While it's there, it blooms in spite of the lack of care, pouring its beauty into the world. But when that flower withers or is removed, the gardener is left staring at the barren space it once occupied. The flower doesn't need the gardener's attention anymore. It has moved on, but the gardener is left to regret their negligence. Your absence is that barren space, a quiet, undeniable void that forces reflection and reveals truths they refused to see when you were present. Walking away quietly is not an act of vengeance. It's a declaration of self-respect. It's a way of saying, I will no longer fight to be seen by someone who refuses to look. In the words of Rumi, don't get lost in their storm, leave, and let your calm become their chaos. Your absence allows them to see what they had, what they lost, and what they may never regain. The beauty of absence is that it frees you as much as it holds others accountable. It gives you the space to heal, to grow, and to reclaim the energy you spent on people who didn't deserve it. It's not about hoping they'll miss you or come back. It's about stepping into the peace of knowing that you chose yourself over their indifference. So, walk away. Do it not with anger, but with grace. Let your silence be the answer to every question they failed to ask, and the consequence of every moment they failed to cherish. Trust that in your absence, the truths you couldn't make them see will become impossible to ignore. They will feel it, the void you leave behind, the weight of what they've lost, and the lesson your absence teaches them. Write this in the comments. I embrace the power of my absence. Let it be your affirmation, your reminder that walking away is not weakness, but a profound act of self-respect. And if you found value in this message, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and help us reach more people who need these life-changing lessons. Your support fuels our work and helps us create content that empowers others to reclaim their strength and peace. Number 4. Letting go is an act of self-love. Have you ever tried holding onto a rope that's burning your hands, hoping it would eventually stop hurting? It doesn't, does it? The tighter you cling, the more it scorches your skin. Letting go, though terrifying, is the only way to stop the pain. That's the essence of letting go. It's not about giving up. It's about choosing yourself. You don't lose by letting go. You lose by holding on to what's breaking you. In the philosophy of dark Stoicism, letting go isn't an act of weakness, but the ultimate act of self-love. A profound statement that your peace matters more than your fear of the unknown. Imagine a bird tethered to a cage, its wings longing to soar, but held back by chains of habit and hope. It doesn't realize that freedom is just a snap away, the simple act of releasing what confines it. You are that bird, tied to relationships, situations, or memories that no longer serve you. Letting go is not abandoning. It's freeing yourself to fly. It's recognizing that staying tethered to something toxic doesn't heal you. It only clips your wings. Dark Stoicism teaches us that holding on to things that hurt us is an illusion of control. We think if we stay, fight, or endure a little longer, we'll change the outcome. But the truth is, you can't fix what's unwilling to grow. Letting go is the bravest choice you can make, because it acknowledges that your energy is better spent on yourself than on someone who doesn't value it. There's a story about a gardener who watered a dying plant every day, hoping it would bloom again. The gardener's devotion was undeniable, but the soil was barren, incapable of nurturing life. When the gardener finally stopped, they saw that the garden wasn't limited to that one plant. The rest of the space, neglected and untended, began to grow wild with vibrant flowers. You are the gardener, and letting go of what no longer flourishes in your life opens room for beauty and abundance to thrive. Letting go is love in its purest form, not for the other person, but for yourself. It's saying, I deserve peace, even if it means walking away from what I once believed in. It's understanding that no one else is responsible for your happiness. The energy you spend trying to fix someone else or a broken situation could be used to heal and elevate yourself. When you let go of what's hurting you, you make space for what will heal you. The world often romanticizes the idea of fighting for love, enduring pain, and staying through thick and thin. But Stoicism offers a different perspective. True strength lies in knowing when to walk away. It's not about proving a point or seeking revenge. It's about releasing yourself from the chains of expectation and choosing your well-being over the illusion of loyalty. The act of walking away quietly, with dignity and without explanation, is the loudest declaration of self-love. Imagine a river that has been dammed, its flow restricted, its power subdued. When the dam is finally removed, the water rushes forward, fierce and unstoppable, carving a new path. Letting go is the same. It releases the energy trapped inside you, allowing it to propel you toward growth, clarity, and purpose. The path ahead may feel uncertain, but it's yours, unburdened by the weight of holding on to what no longer fits your life. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't care. It doesn't mean you gave up too easily. It means you cared enough to recognize that staying was harming you more than leaving. It's an act of courage to choose yourself in a world that often tells you to sacrifice your peace for others. Letting go is not an end. It's a beginning, a reclaiming of your life, your energy, and your power. If you've been holding on for too long, thinking that your persistence will change what's broken, take a moment to breathe and ask yourself, is this bringing me closer to peace or further away? The answer will guide you. Walking away doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you start loving yourself more. So, let today be the day you choose yourself. Letting go is the gift you give to your future self. The promise that you will no longer settle for less than you deserve. It's the quiet yet profound act of stepping away from chaos and into your own light. And when you do, you'll find that the person staring back at you in the mirror, the one who chose courage over comfort, is stronger than you ever imagined. Say this with me: I let go because I love myself. I am worthy of peace. Write it in the comments as your affirmation, a promise to yourself that you will choose self-love over self-sacrifice. If this message resonates with you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We're dedicated to creating lessons like this to inspire and transform lives. Let's build a community of strength, growth, and resilience, one silent yet powerful step at a time. Number 5. Boundaries. Protect your peace and dignity. What if I told you that the greatest gift you can give yourself is a fence, not to isolate yourself, but to define the sacred space where your peace and dignity reside? Boundaries are not barriers, they are invitations to respect, both from others and yourself. A boundary is not a rejection, it's an affirmation of your worth, and nowhere is this truer than in the art of walking away quietly, a cornerstone of dark Stoicism. Imagine a castle surrounded by a moat. The moat isn't there to trap people out of malice, it's there to protect the treasure within. That treasure is your peace. Without boundaries, anyone can walk into your life, trample over your values, and leave chaos in their wake. Boundaries are the drawbridge, deciding who gets access and under what conditions. Walking away quietly is not about slamming doors or throwing accusations. It's about raising that drawbridge to preserve the serenity of your inner kingdom. Too often, we associate boundaries with harshness, but the truth is, they are acts of love, self-love. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and staying in situations or relationships where your dignity is continually chipped away is like trying to pour water into someone else's bucket while yours is leaking at the bottom. Boundaries seal the cracks. They say, I am worth protecting. They are not selfish. They are necessary for survival and growth. Consider this. When a lighthouse guides ships in a storm, it doesn't chase after the boats, begging them to steer clear of danger. It stands firm, shining its light, its boundaries clear and unwavering. Your boundaries are the same. They are the light that lets others know how to approach you, how to treat you, and when they must turn away. If someone cannot respect those boundaries, they were never meant to dock in your harbor. Walking away quietly is the ultimate assertion of those boundaries. It's not about punishing anyone. It's about refusing to let anyone disturb the sanctuary of your peace. Silence is not surrender. It's the loudest defense of your dignity, and those who truly value you will never feel attacked by your boundaries. They will rise to meet them. On the other hand, those who resist your boundaries only prove why they're necessary in the first place. When you set boundaries, you protect not only your peace, but your time, your energy, and your sense of self. These are not luxuries, they are essentials. By walking away without a word, you reinforce the idea that your worth does not require explanation. You honor yourself in a way that words never could, letting your actions speak volumes about your self-respect. Remember this: your boundaries are not about keeping people out. They're about inviting the right people in. They are not acts of cruelty. They're acts of care for yourself and for the life you are building. I protect my peace. I guard my dignity should be your mantra. Write it in the comments. Let it be a declaration of the strong, unshakable person you are becoming. And if this message resonates with you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We're working tirelessly to bring you life-changing lessons that empower you to rise above, stand tall, and reclaim your worth. Let's walk this journey together, quietly, powerfully, and with dignity. Number 6. Actions speak louder than words, yours and theirs. Have you ever watched the ripples spreading across a still pond after a single stone is dropped? The action is small, silent, and deliberate, but its effect is far-reaching and impossible to ignore. That's the power of your actions. They speak in ways words never can. In the realm of dark Stoicism, your decisions and movements hold the weight of truth, cutting through the noise of excuses, explanations, and shallow promises. "What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say," wrote Ralph Waldo Emerson, and nothing rings truer when it comes to walking away from toxic situations. When you choose to leave a space that drains your soul, you're not just stepping away, you're making a statement. Silence paired with action creates a force that reverberates far beyond the moment. Think about this. Anyone can apologize with flowery words or beg for a second chance with tears. But actions are the only true measure of sincerity. A person's actions, especially in your absence, will show you who they truly are. Are they taking steps to change, or are they falling back into old patterns? Are they seeking growth, or are they simply reacting to the discomfort of being left behind? Your own actions carry even greater weight. Walking away quietly isn't just an exit, it's a declaration of self-worth. Imagine a lighthouse in the middle of a storm. It doesn't shout at the crashing waves or plead with the ships to change course. It simply stands firm, radiating light. Your quiet decision to walk away is that light, a beacon that doesn't waver, no matter the chaos around it. Your movement speaks volumes. I am no longer seeking validation. I am no longer waiting for change. I am choosing myself. There's a unique kind of justice in actions. Consider the metaphor of a gardener who stops tending to a neglected plant. The plant begins to wither, and only then does the gardener realize its importance. Your absence acts the same way. It forces others to confront the void you leave, to face the reality of your contribution and presence. But remember, you're not walking away to teach a lesson. You're walking away because you've learned yours. Let your actions define the narrative. Let your absence tell the story of someone who valued themselves enough to leave. And let their actions, or lack thereof, be the final proof of whether they were ever worthy of your time. Words may paint a picture, but actions reveal the artist. And in this chapter of your life, you're both the artist and the masterpiece. As you walk away and reclaim your peace, affirm this: I choose actions over words. I choose myself. Write it in the comments and make it your declaration of strength. If this lesson resonated with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We're committed to bringing you the tools to transform your life, one quiet but powerful step at a time. Number 7. Rejection is a redirection to growth. Have you ever considered that rejection might not be the end of the road, but the beginning of a better one? Imagine a door slamming shut in front of you, leaving you in darkness. It feels cold, isolating, and hopeless. But what if I told you that behind that closed door lies a path you were meant to walk? A path that will lead you to strength, growth, and the freedom to rediscover yourself. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Rejection isn't the end of your story. It's the redirection that sets the stage for a new, brighter chapter. Think of rejection as a storm tearing through a forest. At first it's devastating. trees uprooted, debris scattered, and the landscape forever changed. But over time, that same storm clears the way for new growth, allowing sunlight to touch the ground where it never did before. This is the power of rejection. It forces you to shed what no longer serves you, making space for the things that will help you grow stronger and more resilient. Walking away quietly in the face of rejection is not an act of weakness. It's an act of faith. Faith that the universe is guiding you towards something better. It's easy to dwell on the pain of being dismissed, to replay the moments where you gave your all only to feel unworthy in return. But here's the truth. Their rejection is not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of their inability to see your worth. Rejection is not a sign of failure. It's a sign that something greater awaits. By walking away, you're not running from rejection. You're embracing redirection. You're telling the world, I deserve more than this. And in doing so, you open yourself up to opportunities that align with your true worth. Metaphorically, think of yourself as a bird trapped in a gilded cage. The rejection you feel is the cage door swinging open, not to push you out, but to set you free. Walking away is your first flight, shaky at first, but full of potential. The sky stretches endlessly before you, full of possibilities you couldn't see from inside the cage. Each beat of your wings takes you closer to a horizon that's yours alone to claim. So when rejection comes, don't let it break you. Let it build you. Let it teach you that what feels like an end is often a beginning in disguise. Take the pain, the silence, and the loss, and turn it into fuel for your growth. The world doesn't stop turning when someone spiky cray. Tanivia, just tay, datamai. Remember, the journey ahead is yours to define, and it starts the moment you choose to move forward. Say this affirmation with me. I am not rejected. I am redirected to something better. Write it in the comments as a promise to yourself. Let it be the spark that ignites your transformation. And if this message resonated with you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support fuels our mission to create life-changing lessons that empower and inspire. Number 8. Your silence forces accountability. Have you ever noticed how the quietest moments often carry the heaviest weight? Silence has a way of cutting through the noise, forcing truths to surface that words can never reach. Silence is a true friend who never betrays, Lao Tzu once said, and it holds a power that often goes underestimated. When you walk away quietly, your silence becomes a force of reckoning. Not a retreat, but a mirror that reflects the reality they've tried to ignore. It's not about revenge or games, it's about accountability, and nothing holds a person more accountable than the deafening echo of your absence. Imagine standing by a still lake. When you're present, ripples spread with every movement, distracting from the depths beneath. But when you step away, the surface becomes calm, and suddenly everything below is exposed. That's what your silence does. It strips away distractions and leaves the other person face to face with themselves. It forces them to see their own actions, their neglect, and their indifference in the stark clarity of stillness. Your silence is not emptiness. It is the spotlight they never expected, shining directly on the cracks they tried to hide. Walking away quietly isn't about winning. It's about stepping into your power. Silence is the ultimate equalizer. It strips away excuses and forces raw truths to surface. Those who once dismissed your presence or took it for granted will feel the cold sting of what they've lost. They may try to fill the void with distractions, but deep down they will hear the echo of your absence, loud and relentless. This is not cruelty, it's consequence. And consequence is the birthplace of accountability. Think of silence as a storm that clears the air. When you stop speaking, when you stop explaining and pleading, the noise of justification fades away. Like a forest after a wildfire, what remains is bare but honest. In that stark landscape, they are left to confront the truth, that they didn't cherish your warmth, your loyalty, or your love when it mattered. Your silence is not just the absence of sound, it is the presence of self-respect, of boundaries, of the realization that you deserve more. The beauty of letting silence speak is that it doesn't need your help. Words can be twisted, but silence cannot be misinterpreted. It delivers its message with unwavering clarity, saying everything you don't need to. And as they sit with the weight of your absence, they will either grow or crumble under its pressure. Either way, it's no longer your burden to carry. You've left the stage, and now it's their turn to face the spotlight. Remember this: your silence is not weakness. It's the voice of your strength, speaking louder than any words ever could. You are not running away, you are rising above. Let your absence demand the accountability they were never willing to accept. Let your quiet departure be the lesson they cannot ignore. Say it with me. My silence speaks volumes. My absence demands respect. Write this affirmation